So this morning, my next guest sent a letter to Gary Gensler, chair of the SEC, and Robert Cook, CEO of the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, is also known as FINRA. He's asking both organizations to review events that are surrounded Metamaterials Series A preferred shares, we know as MMTLP. Joining me now is South Carolina Congressman and member of the House Financial Services Committee, Representative Ralph Norman. Representative Norman, your letter notes that you've received over 40,000 letters from concerned investors regarding the halting of this stock, the level of shorting. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Yeah, Charles, I really haven't. I mean, if anybody that invested in this company is definitely not going to be a Santa Claus this year. Now, the backdrop on this, we had a constituent call our office, and I think it was early in January, maybe in December, asking if we could help find out about where his shares were in a company he invested in. And as you mentioned, it's Metamaterials, trades under MMTLP. It was been trading since 2021. It's a nanotechnology company that makes small products. It's like, I understand it, the cloth that water beads up on. It's that kind of technology. But in any event, in the summer of 2022, the SEC approved a Form S-1 for the formation of a new company, which all the shares of Meta were transferred to this NextBridge Hydrocarbons. And in December 9th of 2022, FINRA issued a U3, which is rare from what I'm being told, that prevented the shares from being sold or traded. Yeah. And he was trying to find out where his shares were.
He's got a lot of company. And by the way, these are relatively small investors, a lot of these folks. Some of them it's the first time investing. And I think it's a damn shame the way it's begun for them. Back on September 28th, you had a chance to ask Gary Gensler if he was familiar with MMTLP. He played it very coy. He said it, quote, not very deeply, although I thought it was ironic because he did mention the stock during a hearing on the 13th of that same month where he said he could not confirm nor deny if there was an SEC investigation. So here we are again. You're writing them once again. But again, I'm trying to figure out the bizarre behavior on the part of regulators in this case.
Well, Charles, we had him in a hearing, and he tap danced around it, like you said. He knew exactly what was happening. You know, and FINRA, as you know, works for the SEC. Gary's supposed to know about it. And, you know, when you have the members of, I think the VP of the OTC not knowing why the shares weren't traded, when you can't find out what shares exist, if any, there's no excuse for this. So he's paid to know about this. And, you know, their mantra is to protect the public. And if he can issue 500 pages to require companies on their climate change and the effect on the world, the economy, he can sure find out about this. But as of now, no response. We're asking had 16 questions, asking for answers at the end of the year, end of this month.
End of this month, okay. And I hope that happens. In the meantime, individual investors who are watching this, you're a capitalist. You're a very successful American capitalist. People look up to you. That's why they elected you into office. They want you to bring that kind of thinking to Washington, D.C. But how can people have trust in a system that, to your point, is more focused on ideology like ESG than whether, you know, people can simply buy it? The Wall Street Journal dissed the shareholders of MMTLP, suggesting that the trading halt was their fault because it's a risky stock. Is it the role of FINRA and the SEC to stop stocks trading arbitrarily because they think they're risky? That's not their role. How can people trust the stock market?
Well, under this administration, they can't. And to get no answers from Gensler, to get no answers from FINRA, it's unacceptable. And so they can't have trust in it. And until new players are involved, these are important agencies. But to ignore it, to not tell us about the blue papers that were filed, to not tell us what they knew and when, is unacceptable.
Representative Norman, I want to say on behalf of all these small investors, God bless you. I mean, people, they've been begging for help. They reach out to me on social media all the time. There's so much I can do. I've passed along their concerns to a lot of folks. You stepped up to the plate. I want to say thank you very much. Merry Christmas, and we'll hope to hear from you real soon.
Thank you, Charles. Merry Christmas.
Thanks a lot.